Welcome back to the Lynx Golf Podcast. I'm Al Lunsford, digital editor for Lynx, with Joe Passoff, my co-host, and Gilles Gagnon, depending on who you ask how to pronounce that name. That's what we're going with, the American style. He is joining us from Casa de Campo as the director of sales, longtime affiliation with the resort in many capacities. But Jill, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate the time. Can't wait to talk Casa de Campo with you.
Well, it's my pleasure, and thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this.
My first question, I know you've done a lot of interviews and talked a lot about Casa and Pete Dye, but I stumbled across at one point you gave a TED talk, and I wanted to ask you about that experience. And instead of being, asked questions, just going up there and giving one of those. It's very few people I know of, you can talk to about what their experience was like. How was that like for you?
Well, it was probably the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my life, because obviously you got to talk 15 to 18 minutes. And you're not reading anything. And when I did the TED Talk, they give you I have some bullet points that they will put on a little television on the side, a little screen. And this thing, as soon as I start talking, it went blank. And So now, and you're trying to pass along how what the idea was, love and passion, basically. And so it was very nerve-wracking. And actually I walked on the stage and I said, "Are you nervous? Is anybody nervous here?" And I said, and nobody kind of said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I am." And it kind of just then I let go. And then we talked basically about I talked about what Pete had accomplished here, and how Pete from Urbana, Ohio, and a little French Canadian from Montreal, hockey player, golfer, how the two of us got together and worked together to develop the golf business at Casa de Campo. His line was, "You build it, and I'll build it, and you just bring them." So, at the time, 30 years, I was the director of golf operation. And when I first got here, it was very, we didn't have a whole lot of action. In 1980, when I get 10,000 rounds. And I felt if I was going to keep my job, I better try to promote and bring events and things like that. And basically, that's what I did. And then 7, 8 years ago, when it was kind of time, for me, it was, at 68 years old, and working 90 holes of golf, 24 hours a day, it was time for me to just kind of have a little more of a life. And they were making some changes here. And so I got in sales and marketing, so which I'm enjoying. But it was a great experience. I loved it. I would love to do another one again if I was ever asked.
Well, we're excited to come see you in the Dominican Republic. We're returning again this time in December. Normally, we come in October for the Lynx Invitational at Casa de Campo. This year in December, in large part due to the work being done to the main attraction there, Pete Dye's Teeth of the Dog course. Can you tell us a little bit about how the restoration is going? I think we're going to be there about 2 or 3 weeks after it's finished, so we'll be one of the first groups to come out and play. But how's it looking out there?
Well, it's funny. I was there today. I was sitting on the 19th hole there, and we have a group here. Ray Allen, the former basketball player, brings about 40 players that play in an event, and I'm part of the event today. And the only problem is they play it at 7:30 in the morning, which I can't stand. I like the 1 o'clock, 1:30 afternoon times. But it's amazing, the work we've done already. The cart paths are all in, because we're going to put cart paths, excuse me, all the way around. And they got all that done on the front. The fairways are stripped. They're starting to kind of fix the edge of the rough. The sand is all on the greens. They will start, I guess, next week with they did the measurement, obviously, with make sure that basically we don't change the green, the terrain that much. So they're working really fast. I'm really surprised how far ahead we are right now.
Gilles, a lot of people were surprised when the press release went out uh, that you'd selected Jerry Pate to at least helm the renovation. But Jerry's had a long, long connection with Casa de Campo and has done some very fine work on his own in collaboration with Tom Fazio, with Bob Cupp, and so forth. How did that come about, where you said, Jerry, we want you to be the guy, and we'll work with you to restore the best aspects of this golf course, which are many, and then do some of the tweaks that bring it into the modern era.
Well, the first thing we decided, we asked if anybody was okay to have handcuffs on him while they were doing the renovation out there. The idea is that he has a very close relationship with the owners here at Casa de Campo. Obviously, he's been close to Pete Dye. He's worked with him, and while Pete was alive, he was around quite a bit. And I was not part of that decision, but he did some work before. He did some stuff on Lado Meta Country Club, our private club, where he changed the greens. We put Paspalum on the greens there, and he did the renovation. And basically, this is and Jerry we become good friends, and Jerry understand that is it's not going to become a Jerry Pate golf course. It's Pete Dye, and he's basically restoring what that over the years, the greens have gotten smaller or changed shape because, the mowing pattern, the bunkers have settled a little bit. The front end kind of goes up as the machinery comes up the front, and the lower, the back end gets lower. So, we're not changing. They went over a lot of pictures and things like that, and he was very involved in that. And he did the design, on each hole, basically on the computer, the way they were planning, and the ownerships looked at it and they approved it. So, it's a restoration work. And I think Jerry has a lot of respect, for Pete Dye and what he's done here at Casa de Campo, to make sure that the tradition is continued. And, there's a few things, obviously. I just saw today we've added a tee on number 2, for example. It was a 385-yard par 4, really beautiful hole. And then he just put another tee across the road a little bit. So that's adding another 60 or 70 yards, which for this day and age, that's nothing, right? A 400-yard par 4, that's a drive and a wedge for these guys, or a 3-wood. So some of the holes got a little shorter, but he's not taking away what the hole was, what it was designed, the idea of the design and things like that. So far, what I've seen, he's doing a really good job.
Good to hear.
I'm thinking about that second tee. You walk off the first green, you have to cross the road to get to all the tee boxes. So now there's tee box settled there, maybe right next to the first green. Is that right?
Well, what it is that if you were on the back tee, so if you go directly across the street, there's a little road there that is not used that often, but people that live in that area, which is not, you got 10 homes in Costa Verde and stuff. So he went right across the street, and he actually took that back tee and lowered it about 5 feet, because, if you were building a tee across the road and the tee in front of you was 5-6 feet above, it just didn't work. So he did that. He lowered that tee and then put a tee across the street, which I think is a very good idea. I mean, when an old man like me can sit in the back tee there and hit a drive and a 7-iron or something, these guys are just hitting, nothing. So I think I think it was a good idea.
Okay, one more from me here, Al, because we did a ranking, Lynx magazine. It came out at the end of January, a new top 100 in the world, but it was voted on by the architects, the society architects of the world. And those were the only voters: the American Society of Golf Course Architects, the Europeans, and the Australians. And Casa de Campo's Teeth of the Dog finished 26th in the world. But think about how many new great golf courses have come along in 50 years, but the architects of the world have so much respect for this golf course still after all this time. What is it to you, after all the time you've been here, that you tell people why it is so magical and why it still resonates with people the way it does?
That's a fantastic question. Well, all the years that I've played this golf course, and I've played it more than anybody else in the world, I guarantee. When you finish that golf, a lot of places you go, okay, I played it, it was great, looks good. Like you say, on the new golf course, they could do all kinds of new things that are visually kind of impressive. Or it's too hard and you lose a bunch of golf balls and it's tough to get around. And the wonderful about Teeth of the Dog, first of all, the amount of tees that Pete and Alice, put out there it reaches all the range of golfers, from the scratch, the pros, to the guys at 30 handicap or something. He's given enough space for people to drive the ball. And so, you can drive the ball, find your golf balls, and then, get it around the green. It's a little tricky, got some little, little nuance that he's done a wonderful. And then basically, if you cut the ball, if you're a slicer, if you're righty, you get on the front and it's very forgiven. You're hitting it left to right away from the ocean. Now you turn around, come the other side. Now it's a little different. So he's got everything out there is has been planned, and he used obviously the shoreline that, like he says, I built whatever you said. He built seven, and the Lord built seven, and I built the other ones. Because he just followed the shoreline, and like I said, you finish playing there, and it doesn't destroy you in any shape or form, but you're gonna not necessarily shoot a good score. But you walk off and you go, wow, I missed this shot, and then you go, I got to go back out there because I know I can beat this thing, right? And it's and it was one of the first few golf courses that's ever built where they had that many holes on the ocean, before they all started these things. And I think people, all the architects, have a lot of respect for what Pete Dye has done. I think he has probably designed the best par threes ever on. We have, 90 holes of golf here. So the par threes, every single one is different. And they're amazing par threes. Now, I was talking at a little interview the other day, and I said, Pete was the best par three designer ever, I think. But then the par five was never it was never like so challenging. They're good par five, but you don't walk off at any of them that I've played over the years that say, oh my God, this was, amazing. But the par three, a little number five, a little, you're sitting back there with an 8-iron, 7-iron. Green looks like you got to try to land a ball on the beach towel, next to the water there. And then you got the next 7, which is a long par 4, 225 from the back, but it goes all the way up to the forward tees, which is like 80, 90 yards. 13 is basically, an island green with just sand around it. And 16, again, this beautiful kind of an L-shaped green, and you have pin placement there. That's amazing, just from the front to the back. And, everything that he's done here had a purpose. I walked miles and miles with him when we started building the other golf course, and he always tells me I could never imagine or view what he was thinking, right? And I used to say, I don't know why you have me out here. He's Pete. I said, you're telling me all this and I can't see anything. He says, I know that. He says, just carry the note, take some note, and if I fall down, pick me up. That was his line, But I think that's why, people play the teeth of the dog. I've never been tired of playing it. And I've played, different course where you go out there, you say, okay, I played, like I said before, you played once, twice, okay, it's fine. This is like, you just want to go back out there, and it just grabs you here or there, but you use every club in your bag. If you miss the green, sometimes it's an easy little pitch. Some other time it's a little, you got to flip it up in the air. And so I think that's why these designers are obviously a lot smarter than I am, but appreciate the different things that he did out there with the land. And I think that's why they voted that way.
Boy, the passion is still there with you. We can hear it, definitely.
I still, this is the best place in the world. I mean, I'm, like I said, I'm from Canada originally and went to Michigan State, and where I played hockey there, and froze my, off many times. Now it's like 85 degrees and sunny out there. Played golf this morning. It was perfect. Usually play, but the weather's great. You had a nice breeze. It's not so hot. And we all talk about teeth of the dog, but again, it's closed now. So we're playing the Lynx today. And everybody walks off that golf course and they are going, they can't believe what they shot, because it's not that long, but if you got a wedge in your hand and if you miss it by a yard or two, that's pretty much, unless you're a magician, it's going to be a bogey. The greens are all placed, and really, so the Lynx doesn't, and it's perfect because of your names, obviously, but it's not, that's one golf course that doesn't get the credit. Die4, because of the beautiful view. You're up on top of the hill, and the river is down below, and it's breathtaking. But the Lynx is probably the hardest golf course we have here, and it's so underrated. I think it's crazy.
Well, Al, I know you want to talk a little more Die4 with Gilles, but one quick anecdote. One of my favorites of all time, actually, concerns the Lynx course. And when the Lynx course was being built, one of the young guys on the crew was named Bill Coore. who was gone on to do some pretty great things in architecture. And he was working, and the lead associate for Pete was Lee Schmidt, who
Absolutely.
then later went on to a lot of great things as well. And so the story Bill told me was Lee tells Pete, "Hey, I'm going to get away. I need to get away for a couple of weeks. I'm getting married. Going to take my honeymoon." Pete's, that's great. You enjoy and congratulations, and off you go. We'll see when you get back. Well, Bill said Pete took the time while Lee was on his honeymoon to come in and redesign half the green complexes, rerouted some things, and Lee got back. What happened here? So it was, and Bill was still a twinkle in his eye and a big smile recalling those days. But that was Pete.
That was pretty well. Let me tell you a little story about Bill Coore. I was not the person that they hired. They actually hired Bill Coore to become the director of golf here because
Oh,
Pete wanted to protect his golf course and have somebody that knew about obviously agronomy and design and things like that. So they gave the job to Bill Coore. I was the next guy in line at the time, which I didn't know. But Bill said, look, I don't want to be a golf director, running golf tournaments and giving some lessons, or at the time we have to because they didn't have enough staff. But so he said, I'm not taking the job. Well, every time I see Bill, I see Bill, the best decision you've ever made for yourself and the best decision you've ever made for me. So this is the story about Bill Coore, but he did change things around. He almost reversed everything the way he had done. But that's the Bill Coore connection with me, and I'm very grateful for him because he's changed my life, and I've had a pretty good last 44 years here.
boy, Al, I had one of my favorite stories, and Gilles was able to top it.
He one upped you. I mean, talk about like changing the entire landscape of golf as we know it. If Bill Coore had just settled down in the Caribbean and decided to be director of golf at Casa de Campo, things look a lot
Well, he wouldn't
different.
have been as good as me, I can tell you that. And I would not have been as good as him as an architect. So we did well for both of us.
Well, you touched on the Lynx course, and I agree with you. It's very underrated. I don't think enough people get out and play that one while they're there visiting Casa de Campo. Um, but we did this discussion, I think it was just on US courses recently, where we talked about we called them second fiddle courses, basically the sister course that's next to the main attraction. We focused on the US, but I think Die4 is right there in that conversation. If you're going to extend that to the world, is one of the best second fiddles anywhere to Teeth of the Dog, sitting 300 feet above the Siobhan River. Can you just talk about what Die4 is and does so well as a complement to Teeth of the Dog?
Well, the three golf courses here that we have that the guests can play, everyone's different, right? You got an oceanside golf course, you got Lynx that's more, inside, and we have, water, I mean, lakes, man-made lakes that is done around. Now you go to Die4, you're sitting up on top of the hill, and, you see the ocean, you see the river down below, you see the mountain in the distance. The fairways are, if you miss a fairway there, sometime I think you need a lesson. I mean, they're very wide fairway because of the wind that blows up there. But it's such a different golf course. You get side hit high, downhill lies. I mean, it's the only thing with Die4 is that when we do events, we usually will go like maybe two teeth, one Lynx, one Die4, and the reason is because it's a little more tiring for older people. Because you got so many different lies and you got to walk up some of the hills and things like that. So, but if you do a survey, we're getting to the point now that if you say, okay, teeth and Die4, and it's like almost 55-45. I mean, it's really close where there's some people that say, man, I like Die4 so much better. And then you're looking at Altos de Chavon, the artisan village there. When you play 10, you turn around and you look up there and there's this village sitting up on top of the hill that looks like it's, thousands of years old. And they filmed some of, a couple movie down that river there. And the name escaped me right now, but it's another visually so, demanding. I mean, you look, they're so impressive, and it's, the greens are big. It's kind of like the Teeth of the Dog, which the Lynx on steroid, except, you're up on the hill. Everything is twice the size. And and people go out there and they visually and challenging. It's very again, if you play well, you're going to score well. If you start missing a little more, it's a little more challenging. But people, for me, when I'm thinking 55-45, it's hard to believe, but that's a great credit to the golf course, obviously, how good it is. How good it is. So people enjoy it. And that's why now when people say the teats close, I go, well, guys, where can you go? You're going to play Lynx and Die4. Tell me other places that you can go. You're still going to play two. You're not playing, say, oh, well, this is just a golf course. This is pretty, Pete was up there. I walked a ton of miles up there with him, and what he's done up there, the amount of filling, rocks that we put in to raise up some of the fairways because they were so, close to the river, and we couldn't do it that way, and the amount of time he spent there, and Pete could take an absolute pile of rock and design a wonderful golf course. It's pretty much what he did up there. It was just a pile of rocks. I mean, that was it. And he took that landscape and made it gorgeous.
Yeah, it's remarkable to go there and then realize you're still within the confines of Casa de Campo Resort, all the way up at the top of Altos de Chavan, and you're still within Casa de Campo. You can drive your golf cart there from Teeth. It'll take you about 30 minutes, but you can do it.
Well, if I take you up there, it's not going to take that long because you went to the right way. We kind of do some
You
little
know the shortcuts. Yeah,
cross path
that's
and
true.
yeah, stuff. But yeah, when we were up there with Pete, I was up there one time and we're walking, in the area there that we were going to put some holes or something, and then it was getting dark, and I said, Pete, I said, Alice is waiting for us for dinner. We need to get back. It's going to get dark. He says, okay, go ahead, walk. I'll follow you. And then I'm thinking, okay, where am I? And then I start walking one way, and then I turn around, he's walking dead the other way. And we were literally 2 minutes from the car. And if I would have walked the other way, I would have been gone for a long time because I was going totally the wrong way. I had no idea where I was. And that's how brilliant he was, would take a topo map, and then, we would put some sticks out there, put a stick here, put a stick there. And, it was amazing that what you could see I mean, that's like being in a dark room and figure out something like, what are you going to do? I mean, it was just mind boggling the way how smart and how, the genius of this man was just incredible.
Yeah, that's I think what we touched on when I mentioned the rankings is as many architects as I've talked to over the years, it's too easy in life to throw the word genius around, but that's the word fellow architects would use with Pete. Is he just had a different way of conceiving and executing, and then to put something down where he would scratch out something in the dirt and tell the guy shaping the golf course, this is how I want it done. And because he didn't always rely on formal plans, if something needed to be changed in the field. So it we love the fact that Pete is still so celebrated and still so well respected. So you must have another Pete Dye story, tale, fable, or two or three about being with him there.
Well, when I first met him, we sat on the ninth green. I'll never forget that. We sat on the ninth green, and he's talking, asking me, where I came from, and what kind of experience I've had. I said, well, I was at Colgate University, and I was the assistant hockey coach in the golf pro. Brought the NCAA there, 1977, and well, what about I think of agronomy. I said, well, I was kind of on the greens committee when I was a golf pro there. So he said, well, obviously you don't know anything. Then just got up, walked away. So that was my first, and I thought, oh my God, I'm done. And we'd go out there when he was there, we'd play golf, and we'd have a pad on the, he walked. He didn't like to ride carts, so he walked all the time. But I had a pad where with a caddy would drive the cart. Then he would tell me, okay, do this. I want this done, with this done, and then I would give it to the superintendent, Nunez Malena, who's still here, by the way. and done a great job over the years. So we would give him the stuff, and then he'd come back and he'd say, "Well, nothing's done here. What happened here? You didn't do this. You didn't do that." And Pete was very open, by the way, to suggestion. I said to him one day, I said, we were on 15. There was a bunch of sea grape that were right behind the 15 green that was hiding the tee there, and I said something one day, I go, why are they trees there anyway? And he didn't say a word. And the next day they were, they're sea grapes. They're not like great, but the next day they were all gone. And he said to me, I said, well, why would you do that? He goes, well, it's a lot prettier to see the ocean. That's what people come here for versus a bunch of sea grapes, right? So, and he's planted enough trees around here, trust me. So it's not like he's cutting anything. Although he did cut the tree at the Whistling Strait when Herb Kohler did not want to cut that big tree there, and Pete kind of Herb was really, really adamant about not cutting that tree. And the next thing you know, he was down, and Pete said, "I don't know, something happened, and the tree went down." But yeah, he was, there's no question about it. He was a genius. I mean, look what he did well, Alice also, what they did at TPC on 17. If that's not the most famous par three in the world, I don't know, other than the postage stamp or something like that, I mean, you look at the best player in the world, and, I played with him, and he hit the green like nothing. And he said, I don't understand why these guys are so much problem here. And Alice Dye said, well, you got Jill, me, and two frogs watching you play golf right now. It's a little different when you're playing for millions of dollars with millions of viewers, there and on television. So that's Pete Dye.
But you just mentioned that Ray Allen's out there. I think last time we were there, I saw Conor McGregor walking down the beach. I mean, what it seems like celebrities have found this to be an oasis. There's always somebody you'll see there famous. Why do you think it's been such a popular spot for celebrities to come and bring their families and friends?
Well, I think because this place is so big that, they can get away and kind of not, they can blend a little easier, right? Than it is a lot of places. And we make sure a lot of time that, like, Miguel Angel Jimenez, for example, that he loves this place. He's here, if he doesn't, he won last week, and we text back and forth, and he was on coming back, and, he comes here, he plays at the country club, and he goes, plays teeth, and people might say hi, but, they can kind of roam around, but they come here because of golf. I mean, the golf and the hospitality, the Dominican hospitality, the people here are super nice. They do anything for you. Sometimes takes a little longer, but that's I mean, imagine yourself being in somewhere where you don't speak the language, or you have to deal with French people or German people. And, I mean, it's not easy for them to kind of catch everything. But yeah, I mean, over the years, I've played with, Clinton, George, both of them, Bush. I played with Prime Minister. I played with Robert Redford. I played with Sean Connery. You know, uh, I've played with some pretty famous, Oscar de la Renta. I used to have a bunch of guests all the time. It's just amazing. And the part of it that's kind of sad that I didn't take picture with all, well, the presidents and stuff I have, but I didn't take picture with all of them because I think my grandkids would probably look and say, wow, my grandfather was, famous about something. But it's a great place. People, you go to a restaurant, people leave you alone. There's obviously very wealthy people here, and every nationality. People don't understand, 60% of the home here are owned by Dominicans. So that's another thing. So, and then you got Canadian, you got American, German, you got people from South America. I mean, this is a melting pot of every country you can imagine. And you could go to a dinner, and you sit at a dinner with people, and there'll be 4 or 5 different languages being, spoken during that time, French, and then English, and then Spanish, and then, somebody got, it's pretty amazing. And it's a wonderful experience for people to see that, that it's not all English or all French, or, you know, I mean, like you see these guys now, Ray Allen with all these guys, they got I mean, the biggest bunch of guys I've ever seen in my life. They're all huge guys. And here I am today. I went there, and Ray saw me yesterday. We shook hands. And I swear to God, I thought my hand disappeared. I had nothing, he's got the biggest hand, and he's tall and skinny, and you know, uh, it's pretty, and they love it. These guys now, they played 36 yesterday, Played 18 this morning. We're going out there for some, I don't know, dog race they call it, or whatever the hell they're gonna shoot, have a shootout, and then tomorrow they're gonna play another. They play 36 every day. And well, Michael Jordan came here for his bachelor's party many years ago. And funny enough, he paid for everything. It's not like we gave him, ask him. He paid for every single thing. And it was pretty impressive. There was a guy with a little yellow pad there taking all the bets, how much money he had won here and lost. He was really a pretty cool guy. So yeah, we meet a lot of great people, and I think part of it is it's a big place. They can get lost. They'll say hi to people, take some pictures and stuff, but it's not like constantly, like they're not on top of them. So, and they can rent a beautiful home that they can be away. They don't have to be at the hotel. We have these
Right.
beautiful homes that they can rent. So, there's a lot of things. You got hotel rooms, you got the elite room, you got the premier suite, which is an upgrade. Then you could go to 4-bedroom golf villa, or you could go from, homes that are, golf villa now $1.5 million or $2 million to the 10, $15 million oceanfront, homes. So there's a lot of, and obviously these athletes that are making a couple pennies, they can afford to do these beautiful homes at $10,000 a night or something.
Sure. Is there a celebrity that you played with that surprised you with how good their golf game was?
Uh, I guess George W. Bush was pretty impressive. I didn't think he could play at all. The old man was terrible, but he was wonderful. But he was pretty good. He hit it pretty well, and it was kind of fun. But the guy that could play golf that people didn't know was Pete Dye. Let me tell you, Pete Dye could play golf. He hit that little hook. He always hit those little draw or hook, depending. And he always carried a 4-iron with him wherever we went. And he'd throw a couple balls down and hit them. And he could play golf. I mean, he played in the Open. The story with Pete Dye is that he was playing, and I think it was the Southern Am or the North South or something. And he was in the final. And he says he gets to the range and you see this little blonde fat guy on the driving range. And he says to his buddy, if I get beat by that guy, he says, I'm going to give up golf. Well, it turned out that he got beat like 5-4, and it was Jack Nicklaus. So he got drummed pretty good. He said on the first hole, he said, it was a dog leg right. He says, I kind of hit my little dog, my little duck hook down the middle. And he says, Nicklaus just aimed right over those trees and flew it right over the trees right in front of the green. And I thought, well, I guess I'm quitting that game now because there's no way I'm going to beat. So yeah, Pete was great, but Sean Connery was amazing. I mean, just because everybody that was following him, I mean, I've never so many women pass out when he was going by. Looking at that, he was very impressive, tall, very distinguished, a great voice. And I think the older he got, the better, the more aroma, that it was amazing what he had around him. You could just, and the stories, and it was really cool.
Jill, one of the things that I've marveled at with the amount of golf that people seem to play, I mean, I was pretty happy with 18 holes and then having a cold Presidente, maybe a little rum flavored something or other. I mean, the place is so beautiful and it's tropical, and yet folks want to go back and play, and get another 9 in, or even try to squeeze in 36 holes. But okay, if you weren't doing a complete full day of golf, what else there is to do? And as you're celebrating kind of, I think, 50th anniversary of some things there, what else about the property is so special that keeps people coming back over and over, or buying residences there?
Well, we just opened a new spa, which is state of the art. We opened that, I think, a couple of years now that we've opened that. And I haven't been there because I'm not really a spa, but my wife's been there a few times. And we've been in Grove Park Inn, for example, in Carolina. That's one of the best spa in the world. And she says, honey, this is as good as anywhere. So they've done a great job there. And then you have horses, you have polo, you have tennis, you have pickleball, you have right now, I think it's the blue marlin. It's the season of blue marlin, one of the best places to go blue marlin fishing. We have a beautiful marina. I mean, and even now, with the marina, we have stores there. So the ladies can go a little shopping if they want to. But the thing is that whatever you plan for a week, very rarely you're not going to be able to do it. Like we probably have more rain this year than I've ever seen. And I think we've missed 2 afternoons of golf. You can
Mhm.
play golf every
That's
day.
all.
I
Yeah.
was in Florida for a week. I went to play. I had playing a pro member at the Everglades, and it was like 52 degrees and raining, about a month ago. And I was in Florida. We have a play, and I was there for a week. It rained every day and cool. Well, if you come down to Florida to play golf and you're like that, here, you're going to play every day. So there's a lot of other activity. But when the guys are by themselves, it's like I'm sure you've heard of Sand Hills Golf Club in Mullen, Nebraska. My daughter and son-in-law basically are part of the people that run the Coeur Crenshaw. That's where I see Ben once in a while. But you go there, there's nothing else to do, right? You play 18, you have lunch, you play another 18, or 9, or what, depending on your age. So here, when people come, the guys, if the wives are not, they don't have any ladies are not here, they just want to go back out. And we've developed originally the package that I put together was unlimited golf. We didn't go back and say, okay, now you got to pay card fee, you got to do this. So people would come and love the idea that they knew what they were paying and they could go back out and not saying, oh, by the way, that's another 150 or $200. We're backing off that now a little bit because we got busy, but we're still giving replay round for, part of the package that we do on the Lynx if they want to go back. And obviously if we're not uh, full. So that's another thing that we've developed here that originally that people love the idea that they could go play and they would do, by themselves. I mean, like me today, I finished at 12:30. Now I'm starting to work and I have this wonderful call with you guys. But otherwise, I'm sitting there going, if I don't have a job, I'm going, okay, what am I going to do the rest of the day? I mean, it's got to keep busy. Me, I got, I need to figure if I just stop moving, I might just be next to Pete Dye very soon. So I want to keep moving.
And I also saw, at least from the notes Al you sent, that you've got a nice situation for folks that want a little more pampering and luxury with the Premier Club. How does that work with guests coming in?
That's been really popular, believe it or not. I've got, usually I will put a package, a deal together, and then I'll say, well, by the way, if it's available, we have the premier room, which are, beautiful. There's a different golf cart that they can drive around. There's a premier club that they can go, which is, just for those 62 rooms that we have. They go in there and there's a bar in there. And there's they can have snacks and it's right overlooking the putting green on the tee to the dog. It's kind of a little brown right now because the grass is off. But it's a wonderful upgrade. It just the rooms are better. Obviously, the decor is better. The bathrooms are brand new and have all the best that you can imagine. And so if you come down with your wife and you've got to go play golf for 18, you want to make sure that she gets up in the morning, take a look, and they'll have a little coffee on the terrace. And so it's definitely a nice upgrade, and people are enjoying it. And it's amazing the demand. I mean, obviously it's not cheap, but it's amazing when I tell people, well, we have that. Oh yeah, yeah, I want to do that. But compared to other resorts, because obviously we compare, we are really in the in the right price for these rooms. So it's helped us. People go to Sea Island and look what it costs there and everything, and they go, wow, Casa de Campo is pretty reasonable, compared to some of these places. So we try to be competitive, but we don't want people to, 80% of my business is repeat business, believe it or not. And a lot of time I was in meeting in corporate, the hotel, and they go, there's no way. I said, you can check my books. 80% of my business is repeat business. I mean, we have 52 teams in the Pro-Am in January, both of them, 52 teams. And half of those or more, now we're getting younger, but half of those or more are guys that have played in the Pro-Am year before and year and year and year after. So the repeat business, amazing. And that's the idea. You want to get the experience and you go, should we go there? Geez, Casa de Campo is really good though. Why don't we go back? And that's what we do.
They don't call it the Caribbean's most complete resort for nothing, Joe.
Well, no, when you talk about repeat business and Lynx is having their annual event, as you said, not in October because Teeth of the Dog will still be finishing up the final aspects of the restoration. So this time in 2025, it's December, and folks who sign up, and a lot of repeat business from those signups coming back to Casa de Campo, and they're going to get a refreshed classic golf course that is aesthetically pretty close to one of the most beautiful in the world.
Well, I think so, and we appreciate you. Obviously, appreciate you guys coming back, and it's funny because you've been talking about us, and I can talk about you guys, and because I get the articles that you send pretty much every day, and I read most of them, and it's amazing how you guys keep coming back, keep coming with stories and new things that you're writing about, and yeah, it's pretty impressive. So it's. I really enjoy it. And many years ago, I think you've grown so much now in popularity. Where I remember Lynx magazine when I was in upstate New York, I think it was a magazine for private club mostly, but it was not as popular as it is now. Now you have trips in different places, you have beautiful articles. And if I'm looking to go somewhere, and you'll get an article about a golf course or a resort, and it just kind of gives you a really good idea of what it's like. So as a golfer and an avid reader of your magazine, I appreciate what you guys do.
We appreciate that very much. Yeah, we work hard, and you could you could fill a magazine probably with all the different ways you can enjoy your time at Casa de Campo. I'm quite sure. Last one for me, for you, Jill, if you could, if you were a resort guest, what does your perfect day at Casa de Campo look like from sunup to sundown for you?
All right. So you get up in the morning. Now I'm going to reverse what most people do. Okay. So this is me. And I get up early. I'm up early. I come to my office at 7 o'clock, 7:30. So it's to get up and relax and go to the Lago restaurant there. That's right on the 18th hole at Teeth of the Dog. You have a nice leisurely breakfast. And then you get on your golf cart and maybe you drive to the beach and you go for a little dip, you walk around a little bit, little swim, and then come back and maybe take a walk, around around the beach or whatever. And if you have other sports you like to do, and then go have a little lunch, little bite to eat, and then tee off on the Teeth of the Dog at about 1:30. Finish as the sun is setting. Go up to the 19th hole, sit there, have a little. He likes, they like Presidente. If you have a little wine, a little rum, you sit there, have a wonderful drink, and then go back, take a nice shower, get dressed, and go to one of our, the restaurant, the Piazzetta or Casita or the Beach Club, or, all the restaurant that we have under our packages that are gourmet restaurant. And, go back to maybe the Kanya bar after the dinner, sit around and meet different people that are there from all over the world, and have maybe another little drink and go back and then go to sleep and start all over again the next day. That's kind of my life, but I don't go to the beach often, but that's kind of what I do. I just get up in the morning and come to my office and answer all these great emails of people that want to come back and put stuff together, have a little lunch, and then go play. And and watch that sunset. That's the other thing you could do. You sit there at the 19th hole, even if you're excuse me, on 17, that sun setting right over Catalina Island there. And once in a while you get the green flash they call, when the sun hits the ocean, and when it hits the water, and it's you see all the people there come there with their carts at a lot night taking picture right on 17, and they're looking down right at the sunset. So I mean, I know the sunset is beautiful in many places, but out here with the little breeze and 85 degrees, pretty cool.
Well, you too can get a slice of that life if you decide to join us in the Dominican Republic again in December 12th through 17th. You can go to lynxmagazine.com/events to learn more and sign up and live the life of Jill there in his little piece of paradise. So we appreciate your time. I look forward to following that itinerary exactly at least one of the days while I'm there. I hope we can do this again soon because I'm quite sure you have more you could tell us about Casa de Campo and your time there. But this has been really fun. Thank you so much, Jill.
No, thank you for having me. And, it's love. And Joe, I'll make sure to have a couple Presidente, Co-Presidente for you.
Now you're talking. I see the palm fronds and the breeze and yeah, that's going to taste mighty good.
Hmm.
Especially after you passed a few dollars that you lost to me on the golf course. That would be better. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and talk about Casa de Campo. And if God willing, I will be here welcoming you in December, and hopefully have a little golf and maybe a little Presidente with you guys.
We can't wait. Thank you again. Until next time.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All right.